All right, Notre Dame football class of 2024, of course, they've got a bunch of players already committed, working on others. This is the best way I can put it. Do you feel like 2024 recruiting is on schedule right now?
Yeah, Darren, they got 8 commits, and National Signing Day is what, 9.5 months away, 10 months. So, I mean, it's basically a third of the class full. Yeah, I think they're in a pretty good spot. I think, Darren, this spring, you look at March, April, May, probably will land somewhere between, I'm just kind of spitballing here, 6 to 8 or 9 commitments, something around there, put you around 15 going into the summer. And then the summer is huge, right? You get those June official visits, and then you're going to land several more from June, July. And then I think this past year, from the end of July to like the first, end of July to first week of August, Notre Dame landed like a new commitment every day. Like, there's going to be a run there, as well as players, find that August 2nd birthday to announce their commitment on, want to knock this thing out before the senior season. So Notre Dame will probably be about 80% full before before the start of the season, somewhere around there. So, yeah, there's already like 2 players on the top of my mind right now that I think could be, March, April commitments. And yeah, there's just going to be a bunch. Yeah, so they're fine. I think, they got a commitment at quarterback, running back, got a receiver, they got an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman. Do they have a linebacker yet? No linebacker, and two corners already. So other than safety and linebacker, they've got a commitment at every position. So, I mean, they're in pretty good shape right now, Darren.
So I recently had a conversation with someone involved with a Division I program, a non-Power 5 Division I program, and we just got into a conversation about NILs. Now, NILs are not supposed to be a part of the recruiting process, but I think none of us are dummies. We see stories across the country, money being guaranteed, blah, 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 blah. And just talking to that individual, they said even in the non-Power 5 conference level, there are recruits talking about NILs and seeing what's out there. I'm just curious, without any names, if it's even any names to talk about, when you talk to recruits, do you have many of them very upfront and say that they are looking for money right off the bat through the NIL process as they're going through the recruiting process?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have recruits on all ends of the spectrum. You're going to have it where this is just a business play, like college football is just to make money. And you're going to have the other end, more so your offensive lineman to be like, I mean, I don't care. I want to go play football. And for Notre Dame, you're going to be more on the more of that offensive line end, right? Like, I want to go play football and get a really good degree. And they're thinking the long game. I want to go somewhere that can help me set up for my future, right? That's the Notre Dame play. Whereas, Notre Dame's not really playing this NIL game of, guaranteeing players money. Like, I look, if that happens, I hope I can tell you guys, but I would hope I'd be able to share that. But I'm completely honest, NIL's been around for a year and a half. I've heard little rumors here and there, but nothing really substantial that like Notre Dame's playing the NIL game like with recruits. I mean, I've talked to Notre Dame sources and I've said, hey, like, I heard this. Is this true? I literally get laughed at there. And they're like, man, yeah, Notre Dame not doing that. So, but to kind of answer your question, Darren, I would say, so I'm talking about both ends of the spectrum here. The middle, which is your most common, is pretty much like it's something to consider. Like, you have to, like, it's something to listen to. But at the end of the day, speaking as a recruit, it's like, I got to play football. Like, I have to go to college. I got to get on the field. Like, I need to get, good grades and get a degree. Like, that's still the number one thing. So I think all the big stories out there of, the Rashada kid, who was going to Arizona State or Florida, and then didn't get his money, and he went to Arizona State. Like, I think people hear that story and they're like, that's college football recruiting. Like, that's like the 1% of the 1% kind of thing. Like, that is very rare, where the bulk of it is very much like, hey, I want to learn more about this, but it's not going to impact my decision. And you know, I do think Notre Dame. I said this before. I think NIL has been a bad thing for Notre Dame on the recruiting trail. I do think they've lost some recruits. Maybe not just due to NIL, but I think it's been a factor.
Sure.
But I do think that the Fighting Irish have done pretty well in this NIL era.
I hope you find this to be a fun question. This is kind of off the beaten trail a little bit, but it seems like in every recruiting cycle, there's always a former Notre Dame player whose son is a 3-star, a 4-star, whatever the case may be, and it could be Notre Dame recruiting them. So I'm just wondering, recently, has there been a legacy that has stood out to you?
Yeah, Darren, when you told me you were going to ask me this, I told you, I was like, I'm going to pop this player's name up on the screen for our YouTube audience. You're going to be like, oh, of course I knew that. Darren,
I can't wait to see.
Bryce Young.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, Bryant Young's kid. Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about him a lot, right? So Bryant Young, up there, one of Notre Dame's best defensive linemen they've had, a Hall of Famer. His son, Bryant Young, is very heavily considering Notre Dame. I've had a prediction for him to land with the Fighting Irish. I want to say since last November, he was going to be on campus for the Clemson game. If you folks remember, that was like a weekend where tons of flights got canceled due to weather across the country. So his unfortunately wasn't that. I honestly think that he might have committed to Notre Dame if he would have been able to take that visit. He did make it back in December, I want to say, and he'll certainly be back to campus this spring. So, so he's visited Notre Dame in 3 times as a recruit for a camp last June when he got his offer, came back for the Stanford game, and then was on campus in January for junior day. So, yeah, 4-star player. I like Notre Dame here. He's blown up a lot though recently. He's got several new offers from big time programs, and I believe he's going to Alabama this weekend. So that could be an interesting one. But I like the Irish here though, Darren. Bryce Young, big time edge rusher. Again, Notre Dame, I want to say was his first or second offer. And now you look at that list, and you've got Tennessee, Penn State, Wisconsin, USC, Stanford, Miami, Virginia, long list of schools after him now. So I do think that would be a really nice get for the Irish.